Emma Lawson had spent most of her life feeling like an extra piece from a puzzle that never fully fit anywhere. Even as a child, she sensed something strange inside her home. Her mother loved routines more than affection. Her father spoke to her like she was another bill waiting to be paid. There were no warm hugs after nightmares, no long conversations at the dinner table, no stories about the day she was born like other children heard from their parents. Whenever Emma asked questions about her birth, the room changed. Her mother's hands would tighten around a dish towel. Her father would suddenly find a reason to leave the room, and the conversation would end before it truly began. "You were born healthy. That's all that matters," her mother always said, but it never felt like the full truth. At 39 years old, Emma had learned to live with that emptiness. She was married, raising 2 teenagers, and working long hours as a nurse at a private clinic in Chicago. From the outside, her life looked stable, happy even. Inside, though, there was always a quiet loneliness she could never explain. Sometimes she caught herself staring into mirrors too long, wondering why her own reflection felt unfamiliar. The strange feeling followed her into adulthood like a shadow. Then came her 39th birthday. Her son Mason handed her a small wrapped box during dinner. "Don't laugh," he warned with a grin. "It's one of those DNA ancestry kits. Everybody at school is doing them with their parents." Emma laughed softly. "So you want to discover I'm secretly related to royalty? Or criminals?" her daughter Ava teased. For the first time that evening, Emma genuinely smiled. The kit sat unopened on the kitchen counter for almost 2 weeks before curiosity finally won. One rainy Sunday morning, she completed the test and mailed it away without thinking much about it. She forgot about it entirely, until 6 weeks later. Emma was halfway through her hospital shift when her phone buzzed repeatedly in her locker. DNA match found, close family relative, potential sibling, 49. 9% shared DNA, her stomach tightened instantly. Sibling? That wasn't possible. Emma was an only child. Hands trembling, she opened the app. The screen loaded slowly before a profile appeared. Claire Donovan, age 39. Location, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Emma stopped breathing. The profile picture showed a woman with dark auburn hair, gray-green eyes, and a faint scar near her chin. Emma dropped into the locker room bench in shock, because she had that exact same scar beneath her own chin. She rushed to the bathroom mirror. The woman in the photo looked exactly like her. Not similar, not related. Identical. Emma's knees nearly gave out beneath her. "No," she whispered. For the rest of the shift, she moved through patients like a ghost. Her mind replayed every strange moment from her childhood, the whispered arguments behind closed doors, the way relatives sometimes stared at her too long during holidays, the fact her parents owned almost no baby photos from her first year. And suddenly, every missing piece started forming one terrifying picture. That night, Emma drove straight to her parents' house in the suburbs without calling ahead. Her father opened the door wearing reading glasses and irritation. "Emma, it's late." She held up her phone with shaking fingers. "Who is Claire Donovan?" His face lost all color, just for a second, but Emma saw it, and that second changed everything. Her mother appeared behind him carrying a mug of tea. The moment she saw Emma's expression, the cup slipped from her hand and shattered across the floor. Nobody spoke. The silence itself became a confession. Emma stepped inside slowly. "Tell me the truth." Her father removed his glasses carefully, buying time. "It's complicated." "No." Emma snapped, tears burning her eyes. "Complicated is forgetting an anniversary. Complicated is debt. This." She held up the phone again. "This says I have a twin sister." Her mother began crying immediately. Small, broken sobs Emma had never heard from her before. "We wanted to tell you someday," she whispered. Emma laughed bitterly. "Someday I'm 39 years old." Her father sat heavily in his chair, staring at the floor. "There were circumstances," he muttered. Emma's voice shook violently. "Did you give her away?" Neither parent answered. "They didn't need to." Emma felt her chest tighten so hard she thought she might collapse. 39 years. 39 birthdays, 39 Christmas mornings, and somewhere out there, another woman with her face had lived an entirely separate life while her parents pretended she didn't exist. "How could you do that?" Emma whispered. Her mother covered her mouth, sobbing harder. But Emma suddenly realized something even worse. This wasn't guilt from a recent mistake. This was grief they had carried for decades, which meant they had known exactly where Claire was all along. Emma turned toward the hallway desperately, needing air, needing escape from the crushing truth inside those walls. Then she noticed something strange. The attic ladder was slightly open, and tucked beneath it was an old cardboard box, overflowing with faded photographs. Emma pulled one photo free, her entire body froze. 2 newborn babies lay wrapped in matching hospital blankets. One labeled Emma, the other labeled Claire. Her parents had kept the evidence the entire time. Emma barely slept after discovering the box in the attic. By sunrise, her entire world felt unrecognizable. She sat alone at her kitchen table, surrounded by old hospital records, faded photographs, and yellowed newspaper clippings she had secretly taken from her parents' house before leaving in tears. Every image felt like proof that her life had been carefully edited by the people she trusted most. The hardest part wasn't learning she had a twin. It was realizing her parents had erased Claire on purpose. For hours, Emma stared at Claire Donovan's DNA profile on her laptop, her finger hovering over the message button. What could she possibly say to a stranger who shared her face? How did someone explain 39 stolen years in a single sentence? Finally, just before noon, she typed, "Hi, my name is Emma Lawson. I think I'm your twin sister." Her hands shook so badly, she almost dropped the phone after hitting send. The reply came 3 hours later. "I've been staring at your picture all day. I don't know what to say either." Emma burst into tears the moment she read it. They agreed to meet the following Saturday at a small cafe halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee. All week, Emma felt like she was walking through someone else's life. At work, she forgot patient files. At home, she caught herself staring into space while her husband Daniel watched her with growing concern. "You don't have to go if you're not ready," he told her gently the night before the meeting. Emma shook her head immediately. "I've already lost 39 years, she whispered. "I don't want to lose another day." Saturday arrived cold and gray. Emma reached the cafe 20 minutes early, but still couldn't calm her racing heartbeat. Every time the door opened, she looked up too quickly. Then finally, at exactly 11:14 a.m., a woman stepped inside wearing a navy coat and holding her breath like she was walking toward a cliff. Emma forgot how to move. It was like looking into a mirror that had aged differently. Claire's hair was slightly shorter, her posture more guarded, but the eyes, the mouth, even the nervous habit of rubbing her thumb against her palm. It was all the same. Claire froze too. For one long second, neither woman spoke. Then Claire whispered, "Oh my God." Emma stood slowly from the table, tears already filling her eyes. Claire crossed the room first. When they hugged, something inside Emma broke open completely. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't strange. It felt like finding a missing piece of herself she had mourned her entire life without knowing why. Both women started crying immediately. People around the cafe quietly looked away, pretending not to notice. "I can't believe you're real," Claire whispered against her shoulder. Emma laughed through tears. "I was about to say the same thing." They sat together for hours talking like two people trying to recover decades overnight. Claire had grown up in Milwaukee with adoptive parents who adored her. She described family camping trips, piano lessons, bedtime stories, and birthday parties filled with cousins and laughter. Emma smiled while listening, but deep inside, grief twisted painfully through her chest. Because Claire had received the childhood Emma secretly wished for herself. "My parents were good people," Claire said softly, "but I always felt abandoned somehow, like somebody somewhere chose not to love me." Emma lowered her eyes. "They did," she whispered. Silence settled heavily between them. Claire nodded slowly, tears returning again. "What were they like?" she finally asked. Emma hesitated before answering honestly. "Cold," she admitted. "Distant. I spent my whole life trying to earn affection that never came." Claire stared at her in shock. "Then why keep you?" Emma swallowed hard. "That's what I'm trying to understand." As the afternoon passed, strange similarities kept appearing between them. Both women hated thunderstorms, both loved old jazz music, both bit the inside of their cheek while thinking. At one point, Claire laughed so suddenly that Emma nearly dropped her coffee, because the sound was identical to her own. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. Then the conversation shifted. Emma carefully slid one of the attic photographs across the table. Claire picked it up with trembling hands. The picture showed their parents standing beside two newborn cribs in the hospital. Claire stared at it silently for several seconds before whispering, "They kept this." Emma nodded. There were dozens more. Claire's expression slowly changed from sadness to confusion. "They kept pictures of me." Emma's throat tightened. "Yes." Claire looked physically ill. "But why?" Emma reached into her bag again and pulled out another item, a folded document from the attic box, a private investigator report. Recent, only 5 years old. Claire's face drained of color as she scanned the pages detailing her address, workplace, husband's name, and children. "They were watching me," she whispered. Emma nodded slowly, fury burning beneath her grief. "They knew where you were all along." Claire pushed the papers away as tears spilled down her cheeks again. For 39 years, their biological parents had secretly followed her life from a distance, while pretending she never existed. Not because they lost her, not because they couldn't find her, because they chose to give her away. And somehow, that truth hurt more than anything else. The Lawson family dinner had always been built on silence. Silence during arguments, silence during disappointment, silence during pain, but on Sunday night, that silence finally shattered. Emma arrived at her parents' house carrying a thick folder filled with hospital records, DNA reports, photographs, and copies of the private investigator files. Claire refused to come. The wound was still too fresh, too raw. "I can't look at them," she told Emma over the phone earlier that morning. Not yet, so Emma walked into the house alone. The dining room smelled like roasted chicken and candle wax, painfully ordinary for a night that was about to destroy everything. Her younger brother Ryan sat scrolling through his phone while their father poured wine with shaky hands. Their mother barely looked up. Everyone knew why Emma was there. Nobody wanted to say it first. Finally, Emma placed the folder in the center of the dinner table. "I met Claire." The room froze instantly. Ryan frowned in confusion. "Who's Claire?" Their mother started crying before anyone answered. Emma looked directly at her father. "Tell him." For a moment, he said nothing. His jaw tightened as though he still believed silence could save him. But secrets buried for 39 years don't survive forever. "She's your sister," he finally muttered. Ryan laughed awkwardly. "What are you talking about?" Emma slammed the DNA results onto the table. "She's my twin." The color drained from Ryan's face as he stared between his parents and the paperwork. "No," he whispered. "That's not funny." "It isn't," Emma said coldly. Their mother covered her face with trembling hands while Ryan turned toward their father in disbelief. You had another daughter. Her father nodded once. The room exploded. What the hell do you mean you gave away one of your babies? Ryan shouted, pushing his chair back violently. We had no choice, their mother cried. Emma stood immediately. No choice, you sold your child. That's not fair. Her father snapped suddenly. You don't understand what things were like back then. Then explain it to me. Emma fired back. Because I'd love to hear how parents separate twins and pretend one never existed. Her father rubbed both hands across his face before finally speaking. We were drowning, he admitted quietly. The business was collapsing. We had debt everywhere. Your grandfather offered us a solution. Emma's stomach tightened. What solution? Her mother began sobbing harder. He knew a wealthy couple who couldn't have children. Her father whispered. They offered financial support if we agreed to a private adoption. Emma felt physically sick. Financial support. Such clean words for something monstrous. How much? She asked. Neither parent answered. Emma slammed her hand against the table. How much? $80,000. Her father finally muttered. The room fell silent. Ryan stared at him like he no longer recognized his own father. $80,000. That was the price of Claire's entire existence. Emma suddenly remembered all the stories she'd heard growing up about how her father, miraculously, saved his failing business decades ago. The same business that later paid for Ryan's college, their vacations, their large suburban house. The same business her father planned to leave entirely to Ryan one day. Claire's sacrifice had funded all of it. Emma's voice shook with rage. You built this family with money you got for giving away your daughter. Her mother cried uncontrollably now. We thought she'd have a better life. You didn't even try to keep her. We were desperate. Emma laughed bitterly through tears. No. Desperate people ask for help. You made a deal. Ryan suddenly pushed away from the table. You followed her, he asked quietly. Nobody answered. Ryan grabbed the investigator file from the folder and flipped through it rapidly. The longer he read, the angrier he became. You tracked her kids, her house, her job. He looked horrified. What is wrong with you? Their father stood abruptly. We wanted to know she was okay. Then why never contact her? Emma shouted. Because deep down, everyone in that room already knew the answer. Contacting Claire would have forced them to face what they'd done. Ignoring her was easier. For 39 years, they chose convenience over guilt. Their mother looked at Emma with desperate eyes. Please understand, I thought about her every day. Emma felt tears sliding down her face again, but this time they carried no sympathy. You thought about her, she whispered, while she spent her whole life wondering why she wasn't wanted. The words hit like a knife. Her mother collapsed back into her chair sobbing. Ryan stared at the family around him, like the foundation beneath his life had cracked open. All this time, he whispered, our entire life came from this. Nobody denied it. Emma slowly gathered the papers back into the folder. Then she pulled out one final document she had found hidden inside the attic box that morning, a trust agreement signed by her grandfather. A massive inheritance fund connected to the original adoption arrangement. And suddenly, Emma realized the betrayal wasn't over. Her parents had spent nearly 4 decades protecting more than a secret. They were protecting money. Emma closed the folder carefully and looked directly at both of them. You didn't just give away your daughter, she said coldly. You got rich from it. The truth spread through the Lawson family faster than Emma expected. Within 2 weeks, relatives who once admired Richard and Helen Lawson began calling in shock and disgust. Some refused to believe it at first. Others demanded explanations. But the documents Emma uncovered were impossible to deny. Hospital records, private adoption agreements, bank transfers, and the inheritance trust signed by Emma's grandfather. For decades, her parents had hidden behind the image of a respectable family. while secretly building their life on the child they gave away. Claire wanted nothing to do with the chaos initially. "I don't care about their money," she told Emma during a late-night phone call. "I just wanted to know why." But Emma cared, not because she wanted revenge for herself, because Claire deserved acknowledgement after spending 39 years erased from her own story. "They treated you like a transaction," Emma said firmly. "I won't let them bury that." With help from a lawyer, Emma and Claire officially filed a legal claim against the hidden inheritance fund connected to the adoption arrangement. The case immediately sent shockwaves through the family. Ryan stopped speaking to their parents entirely after discovering the business he planned to inherit. It had originally been saved with adoption money. "I built my whole identity around this family," he told Emma bitterly one evening. "Now everything feels rotten." Even worse for Richard and Helen, the scandal began leaking into their social circle. Old friends suddenly stopped inviting them to events. Church members whispered behind their backs. Neighbors who once praised them now crossed streets to avoid conversation. For the first time in their lives, they couldn't control the narrative, and Emma felt no guilt watching it happen. One rainy afternoon, she visited Claire in Milwaukee, carrying several old photo albums rescued from the attic. Claire sat silently beside her on the living room floor as they turned the fragile pages together. Baby pictures, hospital bracelets, a tiny pair of pink knitted socks. Their mother had kept everything. Claire traced one trembling finger over a faded newborn photo of herself. "She loved me enough to keep memories," she whispered painfully, "but not enough to keep me." Emma didn't know how to answer that, because some betrayals were too deep for comforting words, but healing slowly began in unexpected places. Claire met Emma's children for the first time a month later during a family barbecue at Emma's house. The moment Ava saw Claire, she screamed in shock. "Oh my God, there's literally two moms." For the first time in weeks, everyone laughed. Mason spent the afternoon comparing childhood photos, while Claire cried quietly at how naturally she fit into their family. By sunset, Ava had already started calling her Aunt Claire, like she'd always been there. Watching Claire smile beside her children healed something broken inside Emma. This was what had been stolen from them, not just years, family, love, belonging. Meanwhile, Richard Lawson's business began collapsing under the pressure of the scandal. Investors pulled away after local news outlets discovered details surrounding the decades-old private adoption deal. Employees started quitting. Ryan officially resigned from the company and publicly supported Emma and Claire's legal case. Richard blamed Emma for everything. "You destroyed this family," he snapped during one furious phone call. Emma's voice turned ice cold. "No," she replied, "you destroyed it 39 years ago." Then she hung up. Weeks later, Helen unexpectedly arrived alone at Emma's front door. She looked older now, smaller somehow. The strong woman Emma feared throughout childhood seemed to have disappeared beneath layers of regret. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. Emma hesitated before stepping aside. Helen sat quietly at the kitchen table, staring at her hands for several moments before finally speaking. "There wasn't a single birthday I forgot," she whispered. "Not one." Emma remained silent. "I used to drive past Claire's school sometimes," Helen admitted through tears. "I watched her graduation from across the street. I hated myself every day." Emma felt old pain twisting inside her chest. "Then why didn't you fix it?" Her mother broke completely. "Because I was weak." The honesty stunned Emma more than excuses ever could. Helen reached across the table desperately. "Please tell Claire I'm sorry." Emma slowly pulled her hand away. "Sorry doesn't give her childhood back." Helen lowered her eyes, shattered by the truth. In the end, the court forced the inheritance fund to be equally divided between Emma and Claire. But the victory wasn't about money anymore. It was about recognition, proof that Claire had always mattered. 6 months later, the sisters used part of the inheritance to open a small family counseling center, together focused on adoptees and separated siblings. They wanted other families to have honesty instead of silence. On a warm October evening, Emma and Claire celebrated their 40th birthday side by side for the first time in their lives. There was cake, music, laughter from children running through the backyard. And as Emma looked at her twin sister glowing beneath string lights, surrounded by people who truly loved her, she realized something important. The sweetest revenge wasn't destroying the people who betrayed them. It was building a beautiful life without them,